Welcome, entrepreneurs. What's up? V2 Pitch. Okay, so the agenda for the next hour or so is I'm going to talk with you about key dates, about deliverables, about requirements, about what's expected of you in terms of the V2 Pitch competition, talk about the resources that are available. I'm going to introduce a couple of folks who have been through the process and been successful. Nathan, Yes Man Watches. Nathan, are you here? There's Nathan. And David, My Duck Farm. Where's David? Are you here? There's David. Okay. So we've got two folks who have gotten all the way to the finals and won prize money at the V2 Pitch competition, available for your questions, as well as I'm available for your questions as we go along. I'm going to show you a little bit of a video of one of the pitches that was successful in a previous V2 Pitch competition, and give you sort of a flavor for what goes on. So welcome, everyone. I know I see some familiar faces, folks who have been through the process before or been in the classes in entrepreneurship in our MBA or undergraduate programs. So welcome to you, and welcome to the new folks as well. So the starting point is that the V2 Pitch competition is USD's own brand of entrepreneurship, awarding, and recognition. We started in 2011 when I first joined the faculty at USD. And we've been very successful since then. We've grown the competition from very few people, like 15 the first year, up to about 130 total entrants last year. We've grown the prize money from $15,000 in 2011 to $100,000 total prize money last year. And the attendance has grown, the recognition, the news that we've gotten from folks has grown as well. And I'll walk you through the mechanics of the process and tell you about the resources that are available. In addition to ones that we provide, coaching, seminars, boot camps, idea labs, and so forth, the USD Entrepreneurship Club is a great resource. They've really emerged in the last couple of years as a source for speakers, for people who are interested in community and entrepreneurship. And Grant, the new president, is here to say a few words for you. Grant?
All right, yeah, hey guys, I'm Grant. I'm president of Entrepreneurship Club. If any of you guys are interested in reaching out and getting more involved with entrepreneurship on campus, feel free to join the club. We have speakers come in, we have certain resources, we have workshops and things. So if you want to join, go on to RoundLink, sign up, email Daniel. I see some familiar faces here. Sign up, and then we'll add you to our emailing list. And also one of the things, we have a lot of members. We have like 134 members right now, so we have access to really good food. So after this meeting, if you guys sign in, you're going to get some board and brew provided for you. So yeah, sign up on Torero link if you guys know how to do that. If you have any questions, come up and ask me as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant. So I'm Professor Mike Lawless. We have our own website that's actually off campus, and they're trying to pull us back in. We're in that process. But right now it's usdentrpreneurship.com, not edu. And we have tons of video there. We run a conference in the fall that's intended to be mentoring, coaching, and inspirational. It's called the USD Legacy Entrepreneurship Conference. And then we run the pitch competition in the spring, and I'll talk with you about that in a minute. And along the way, workshops, seminars, and idea labs. So lots of resources for you. Let's talk about the competition itself and then back off from that to the schedule and the details and so forth. So on the right-hand board, I've already sketched out the key dates. There, I will give a boot camp, couple of hour boot camp on building a pitch deck, what should go into your presentation, a PowerPoint file, how to present it, what investors are looking for, and how you should organize your thoughts and get them in front of an audience. The next key event is about a month later. The pitch decks are due for the V2 Pitch competition, and I'll back off this and explain it in a few minutes, but get that date down. A week later, the number of entrants will be filtered from however many apply to 4 finalists who will present in front of angel investors on V2 Pitch Night. On the 21st, we have a coaching session that has been organized and sponsored by Jayla Siciliano, who's one of our MBA alums and who's a great help to us. She brings in her advisory board from her company Bon Affair, and they spend a couple of hours with certainly the finalists, the 4 who have been selected, and other folks who sign up. And then that's the lead in to April 28th, which is V2 Pitch Evening. So that's the timeline. Next thing is what's required. What are you supposed to turn in? So the pitch deck's due on April 7th. That is a 10-slide PowerPoint file. That's what we mean by a pitch deck. You can do it in other media, but it turns out that most people use PowerPoint. So 10 slides. Those 10 slides, that pitch deck is evaluated by a panel of real angel investors. So they will go from the number who enter to 4 finalists. Last year, that was about 65 entrants to 4 people who actually pitched on V2 night. Then on V2 night, another separate panel of 3 angel investors listens to the pitches and watches the slideshow up in the IPJ auditorium, and then evaluates the pitches and decides how to allocate the funds that are available. Okay. So your requirements are really 2. One is the 10-slide pitch deck that's due on April 7th, and then if you're a finalist, the actual oral presentation, the pitch, on April 28th. Okay, so those are the dates and the requirements. Let me stop there and just clarify any questions about dates and deliverables. Okay, yeah.
So this is probably obvious, but you're not doing an actual pitch on the 7th. Like it's just the.
That's correct. Yeah. So you would submit 10 slides maximum, annotated. So you have on a PowerPoint file, you have the opportunity to put your speaking notes at the bottom. You do an annotated PowerPoint file. Yeah. Okay, so that's the timeline, and that's what we're looking for. So let me give you some background into the V2 pitch competition. I'm really proud of this because it's been so successful and because I made it up. I founded it. When I came to the University of San Diego, it was from the University of Maryland, and before that Duke University, and a long and winding road of other places where I've taught. I came here with the idea that a business plan, which was the kind of competition that existed here before I came, is overemphasized, a lot of work, underused, and inflexible. Can we do something better and come up with more of a streamlined, practical, to-the-point approach that lets you build your business instead of going offline and doing a plan? So I developed a venture model, a checklist approach that I will present in an upcoming boot camp and seminar. And I also said, you know what? We're not going to have people judge business plans. We're going to have people who are real angel investors listen to real pitches. So the competition changed really in many, many significant ways toward being more practical and realistic. Now, there's a downside of that for students, and it is that real angel investors are going to be closer to what really goes on in a market for investment money for new ventures. So these have to be a little bit more mature, a little bit further along than maybe you would submit in a class on entrepreneurship. So there's a little bit more of a burden there on the student entrant than there would be in, like I said, in a class. So let me talk about the structure of the V2 pitch competition and let you know what goes into it. So on the evening of April 28th, the actual event, it's a very fun event. It's a lot of drama, a lot of excitement. There's a lot going on. I think you'll really enjoy it, whether you just go to attend, whether you're a finalist or an entrant, whatever. So the evening starts off with what we call a venture fair. This comes from my recognition that that there are more than one way to get to a successful venture. So the fact that maybe you did not get to be one of the 4 finalists in V2, if you submitted, if you entered, you didn't get to be a finalist, you still have a chance to show your venture in front of the V2 audience, which includes other students, it includes people from the venture community, and even some investors. So you may get a chance to actually pitch your business even if you're not a finalist. So the venture fair goes on in the quad, the plaza right in front of the IPJ before the first event of the evening. So for about 45 minutes, non-finalists are invited to set up a table or a booth or wheel in a rack of t-shirts if it's a t-shirt company, whatever you're doing, and present your venture. And people just kind of wander around. There's food and a lot of communication, a lot of talk, and the chance to discuss your venture with other people, other entrepreneurs and investors. So this is how the evening starts. And remember, I said last year, from USD, we had around 60, 65 entrants. So every one of those 60 who did not make the finals is invited. And the yield has been great. I'd say more than half take up our invitation and show up at the venture fair to start off the evening. The next thing has been a keynote. And we've had great speakers. We're working on our keynote for 2016 right now. Then there is the pitches. So these are, like I said, 10 slides and 7 minutes of platform time. This is in the IPJ Theater. Each entrepreneur stands up in front of the audience and the investors who are sitting at a table on the IPJ stage, on the theater stage, and pitches for 7 minutes. I don't impose any requirements on the investors, but just how this has evolved is that they just have been, for everyone we've done so far since 2011, they've let the entrepreneur talk the whole 7 minutes. They haven't interrupted with questions, not one. But they can, so you have to be ready for that. So plan for 7 minutes of being able to talk to the audience and present your venture. There are 4 pitches. And then among the USD students. Yeah.
In regards to the pitch deck, I understand there's a coaching session, but I'm wondering 2 things. First, is there a template that you're expecting us to use? And then second, are there examples that you can send out to us?
There are pitches on usdentrpreneurship.com, so you can see the actual pitches. I don't think we've distributed pitch decks before. I can ask for permission from entrepreneurs who've entered and see, but we've not done that so far. In terms of a template, you're entrepreneurs. I mean, you're here because you're innovators. You make up your own way of doing things. I do give you some key ideas about what turns out to be a successful pitch deck in that coaching session on March 10th. Okay. Now, one thing about this is that there are not just 4 pitches, there are actually 8, because 3 years ago, I enacted or implemented a vision that entrepreneurship, especially in our area, so close to the border, I can see Mexico from my house, that we really ought to be a resource for the entire community, including Mexico and at some point, maybe even other countries. So there is a binational track of the V2 pitch competition where we have 4 Mexican student entrepreneurs who go through a screening process in Tijuana and then come up here and pitch on V2 night. So in addition to this, which I've just said is the USD side of it, there's the binational track. And that's also 7 minutes each for 4 finalists. And that's in front of another panel of investors who are also seated up on the IPJ stage and who are familiar with business in Mexico and cross-border business issues. So they get a real good hearing from those angel investors. Notice that I haven't used the word judge. So a lot of entrepreneurship competitions use professors or senior executives from big companies and so forth. I said, you know what, we want to make this as practical, concrete, and real as we can. So let's have the students pitch to real people who are making a living, making decisions like in the V2 pitch competition all the time. So these are real angel investors. They are, yes, are they judging? Yeah, but they're using the criteria that they use to make real investments of their own money out in the marketplace. All right, so the binational pitch competition is another 4 finalists. I said that the prize money has increased pretty much every year. I stabilized it last year, and we're going to stay the same this year. I figure we're up to $50,000 in non-dilutive prize money. I don't know that students need a lot more than that. You may disagree. Maybe you need 100,000. I'm not sure. But I think 50 is a good number. I raised that from 0 every year from supporters to the university. And so this is 50,000 cash on the USD side, and it is 10 cash and 40 in kind on the binational side. And by in kind, I mean incubator time, marketing assistance, coaching, mentoring, and the like. So there's $100,000, $60,000 of it in cash money that's available. I mentioned it's non-dilutive. The university doesn't ask for an equity position, doesn't ask for anything back. We hope if you're successful, you'll remember kindly old Doc Lawless and USD and maybe make a contribution at some point, but there's no requirement. Yeah.
So the 50,000 is for one single winner. It's not going to be spread.
No, so let me be clear on that. Great question. So this is an investment fund. This is $50,000 as if it were a syndicate of angel investors. The 3 judges, angel investors, decide how to allocate the $50,000 as if they had a fund to allocate, which they do. So it's not a tournament. It's not first, second, and third places with preset prize amounts. It's not winner take all. It's how they decide to allocate the money. There have been a number of different configurations of how that 50,000 gets allocated. Last year, I think it was 2010, something along those lines. 2 years ago, it was 40. And then the other 3 finalists divided up 10. So that's a pretty dramatic outcome in terms of support from these investors. Okay, so this is the pitch on the stage of the IPJ Theater. Another idea was, you know what? There really is, in the progression of a real venture in a market, if you're successful with your pitch, the next stage is for the investor to ask for a meeting with you when they get more into the details of your venture, how you're financing it, what proof of concept you have, what your management team is like, who your advisors are, and the like. We simulate some of that with the next phase of the V2 pitch evening with what we call one-on-one meetings. After we're done with the 8 pitches, 4 binational, 4 USD, we adjourn to the outside rooms. You've been in the IPJ to know that there's those meeting rooms, the conference rooms around the sides of the IPJ. We adjourn there, and each of the investors is spatially separated at a separate area with a number of seats for a little bit of an audience. And there are interviews that go on between each investor and each entrepreneur. So picture 4 student entrepreneurs rotating in 10-minute meetings with each of the 3 investors. That's the next phase of the evening. So let me write that down so it's up here, and I'll explain it a little bit more. So these are 10-minute meetings where the investor can ask questions, kind of kick the tires, try to get a little bit deeper into the venture model of each of the entrepreneurs. Then they get up, they rotate to the next one, then they have, because there are 3 investors and 4 entrepreneurs, they get 10 minutes off somewhere in that rotation. So that's going on for both the USD students and the binational students. And although the Mexican students had to pitch in English in the IPJ Theater, since everyone is native Spanish speakers, both investors and entrepreneurs, the one-on-one meetings ended up being in Spanish. So you need to be Spanish speaking to really get the most out of those meetings as an audience. Question?
And that's before the prizes are announced? Or after?
Yes, it's before. Yeah. So think about it. In terms of cumulative time, each entrepreneur has 7 minutes of platform time plus 3 10-minute meetings with each of the 3 investors. So 37 minutes total of exposure of conversation with the investors. And to your question, the next phase is, so this is the pitches, the one-on-one meetings, and then the investors confer. So we do have a green room in the IPJ Theater off stage. The investors meet around the table, give their opinions of the pitches that they heard, and they decide, the 3 of them decide how to allocate the $50,000 that's available. And those meetings go on simultaneously, the binational investors and the USD investors. The end of the evening is that everyone reconvenes in the IPJ Theater and the amounts are announced. A little bit of feedback, congratulations, here's what you could do a little bit better. And that's the end of the evening. I give out little thank you gifts to the investors, and we have a little trophy for the finalists.
Are there any restrictions on revenue if you're post revenue like entering a competition?
If you have revenue already, no. I mean, again, it's up to the angels, but the only requirement is that you're really a USD student full-time here, and that you're really participating in the venture team, or you're the entrepreneur. Yeah.
Can the pitch include a video?
Yeah. Yep. And we will give you an opportunity, if you're a finalist, to get into the IPJ Theater and to test everything out, make sure it all works. That's a lesson learned. So the second year that we did this, one of the finalists had an app and tried to show how it works on his phone and couldn't get any cell reception in the IPJ Theater. So it was a little bit of improvisation going on. Yeah.
The actual pitches, is it just one person that's presenting it, or if you're working in a team?
That's up to you as the entrepreneur. I recommend, just based on experience, both in the V2 pitch competition and out in the market, no more than 2. You have 7 minutes. The transitions are such that, but it's up to you. I mean, if you have 3 people and they all have to talk, then, that's your call. Yeah.
If we don't have IP and our business model is based off of trade secrets, is it a faux pas to ask the investors to sign an NDA?
Yeah. Yeah, and again, that's realistic. My experience is that investors won't talk to you if you ask for an NDA, and maybe even not talk to you, but think you're naive in asking for it. So the trick there is to balance convincing them that you've got a great device, block of code, whatever, without trying to give more away than you're comfortable with. Yeah. So this is the main model. The investors confer, and then the awards are given. And I'm especially proud of the whole pitch competition, but in particular that I get really expensive people whose time is very, very valuable to work for a little trophy that I give them. I mean, I think that's pretty clever on my part. So that's my key genius here. So that's the structure of the V2 pitch competition. That's the run-up. There are resources. I'm going to show you a video. And like I said before, we've got Nathan and David, who are previous finalists in the V2 pitch competition. Any questions for either of these guys? Question for one of them?
No, for the pitch.
Okay.
Do we know who the judges are going to be?
We're in the process of selecting them. I have an idea, but I'm not revealing a list quite yet.
But we will know before.
Absolutely, yep. Questions for Nathan or David?
Yeah, have you guys had background in your company already? Like, how long you guys operated before you pitched it?
So maybe about, I mean, we're like in beta for like 6 months, a year. It all depends. So like, all of us had different, in the competition had different points. You know, you don't even have to even have anything started yet. It could just be an idea. But the more along you are with your product or service, the more experience you have. You actually have something live. We were actually about to launch our data.
And what's the update? How's life?
Going well. We're actually, right now we're redoing our front end and adding some more features and then for relaunch.
What's the bumper sticker of your business? What do you do?
So we're an online and walk-in compounding pharmacy, using innovative technology to boost the traditional Chinese medicine market. We have an online service, you can go in there, right now we're mainly targeting practitioners, and they can go in and put in all the information, and it comes up with an algorithm telling you what herbs you should do, and you can change the dosages and stuff.
They actually got interviewed the next morning after V2 on KUSI along with me. And I was disappointed because the reporters only wanted to talk to them. So I just like sat there. But that was very cool you got that recognition. And Nathan, what about your business?
I'm Nathan, founder of Yes Man Watches. Before the V2, we were probably live for about a year and a half. We launched on Kickstarter in January of 2014, and we're already profitable when we pitched at V2. Since then, we've grown, we've extended our product lines, moved into different retailers, and yeah, happy to answer any questions you have.
Two things about the prize money that you might have heard as subtext in both these guys talking. This is non-dilutive, meaning it's just free money. You get it by being successful in the pitch competition. We write you a check and then it's up to you. We track the companies and see how they're doing to see their next stage, and that's part of what we try to do, but it's a little bit harder than getting up to the point of the V2 pitch competition. So we know what most of our finalists have done, but not all of them. The second part of it is that the V2 pitch competition has actually turned into a signal of legitimacy for other investors. Going out into the real market, not at the university anymore, and raising the next round of funding, say from other angel investors, saying I was a finalist in the V2 pitch competition, I won so much money, legitimizes what you've done so far, and it's eased the process for some of our finalists to raise more money toward their goal of getting their business established. And that's something, honestly, I had not thought of before a couple of years ago when the finalists came back to me and said, you know what, actually, this has really worked. There's like bragging rights that go with being a V2 pitch finalist. There have been a couple of questions about the pitch deck itself. Is there a template? What goes into it? Like I said, on April 7th, not on April 7th, on March 10th, I'll do a session like this that talks you through building a pitch deck and gives you ideas. It doesn't say this is what the pitch deck ought to be. Your first slide is, boom. It is more like, here's how you should be envisioning what you're doing. Here's how the information ought to be presented. Here's what investors are going to be looking for. And part of it goes to a couple of the questions. There's a key part of this that's more emphasized because we have real angel investors, and I call that proof of concept. It's evidence that there is a market response to what you're doing. So I'm not ruling out that if all you have is your description of your device or your app or your bakery or whatever it is that you want funded, that might work. It depends on the angel investors, but the stronger proof of concept is going to be some feedback from your potential market, and even stronger is going to be that you actually have revenues, like a couple of folks in the room do. All right. And then behind that, this LVM is a soon-to-be renamed alternative to a business plan. So I've created a checklist approach that's very streamlined, that's very efficient, that's much more flexible than building a business plan. Right now, it's called the Lawless Venture Model, which is an issue. I mean, it sounds a little weird. I mean, lawless venture, what does that mean? Does that have to do with drugs or something bad? So I'm going to kind of make it a little bit more generic. I'm searching for a new word for it. I think it's going to be venture checklist, something along those lines. But it breaks down the things that you need to think about to build your venture into 10 challenges and a number of questions under each one. That is the platform for building your 10-slide pitch deck. And that also we'll talk about that, develop it, and give that information out to everyone as we go along toward the end of April.
Can you give us some examples of successful asks?
Successful apps, yeah. So
Asks. So what the companies were asking for money for?
Oh, yeah. So writing code, building a marketing team, buying equipment or leasing equipment. Sometimes it has to do with compensation, but it's more like those specific things. But that's a great point. So I recommend one of the slides I call it ask and uses. So you say how much you're asking for and what you're going to use it for. Basic questions that sometimes get overlooked. Yeah.
Is there any precedent of like social enterprises that have like a social impact?
Yeah, there are in a couple of different ways. Some of them who have entered and been successful are intended to create a social benefit from the venture itself, and others have allocated or sidelined money that they make that's going to be given to causes. So I think it's worth mentioning here that there's another competition on campus that a lot of folks may know about. It's called the Social Innovation Challenge, and that is explicitly a competition for new ventures, entrepreneurial ventures that have a social value focus. So they're explicitly saying, we're doing this venture in order to benefit some underserved group or like that. This one's different in the sense that, like I've said a couple of different times, these ventures need to be ones that are going to resonate with real investors. So they're looking for, if I was really investing in this company, would I make money with my investment? Now, that doesn't rule out ventures with a social mission. It probably rules out ones that are of no value to an investor at all. So if you have a venture that's going to be funded only by a charity or a foundation that's not going to return any money to the investors, this is probably not the competition for you. But if you have one that's going to resonate with investors and have a social mission, then great, glad to have you. And we have had successful ones in the past. By the way, even though I'm a business school professor and this is based in the business school, this is really a campus-wide competition. We've had finalists from engineering, from Souls, from nursing, from international relations, and we've had a mix of folks ethnically and demographically in our finalists. So we've done a good job of reaching out and being inclusive and still working on it.
Are there any legal requirements in terms of entry to B2? Like, does the company have to be incorporated or LLC?
No. The only requirement, like I said, there are two parts to your requirement. One is that you're really a USD student, and that means that you're here working. And second, that you're really part of the venture team. And we'll do our best to verify both those things. But otherwise, in terms of our pre-revenue, revenue, incorporated or not, that's up to the investors. So if you get the question, are you an LLC or a C Corp or what are you? And you say, I don't know, I haven't thought it over, that might not look good. But otherwise, No. Yeah.
Commercial for the USD Legal Clinic.
Oh, yeah, please, Eric.
Stop by Wednesdays 3 to 5 at Barcelona. I'm happy to help you with those questions. Before the pitch competition, I'm here with Drew, brilliant law student. Our services are free, and we're here to support the USD entrepreneurs.
Yeah, thanks for that memory. So we've actually referred, I think it's 5 now or more, Eric? I think it's more than 5 ventures to the USD Legal Clinic. So questions about incorporating, protecting intellectual property, contractual relationships with vendors and so forth. These guys are great. It's a free service to USD students. I highly recommend consulting them if you have questions along those lines. And you actually write up, do you write up incorporation papers and the like? And
Yes, we draft documents, proprietary information agreements, whatever you need. We don't file patents. This time we're exploring that. We have other resources for entrepreneurs on campus.
okay, good. And you're in Barcelona.
Barcelona 305, very close to Regina Bernal's office in Coronado, right across the way there.
Yeah, thanks for that mention.
Number?
Barcelona 305, office hours are Wednesdays 3 to 5 p.m. You can walk in without an appointment.
So I'm happy to answer other questions. I do want to just convey to you my enthusiasm for this. This is a terrific, exciting, fun, energy-creating series of events leading up to the V2 pitch competition. I think that you'll learn a lot in the process, regardless of how far you get into it, even if you're just audience for that matter. But going through the process is a great learning experience. We're very pleased with how we've emphasized experiential learning as a way of finding out about the entrepreneurship space and about early stage investing. And so I'm just stoked. Yeah.
There's no reason it would be frowned upon to announce that you have a live crowdfunding campaign, is there?
Nope. Nope. I mean, you might think about how, how would that affect your evaluation as an investor? It could be positive. They might wonder. I mean, it's up to you to kind of strategize how to present that.
Doing really well, it might be a great thing to
Yeah,
maybe do it.
could be. I want to show you a video of one of the pitches. Everybody want to see a pitch? And that should kind of wrap us up. While the projector is warming up, I'll tell you one or two other things. I'm trying to just remember all the details that I want to put out there. USD entrepreneurship, the way I've described it, is really 2 people. It's myself and then Regina Bernal, who is a USD alum and the administrator of all that I've been talking about. So I basically dream things up and she makes it happen. And we've been a great team so far. We've been really effective, especially because of her network and really accelerating our efforts in Mexico. But she's a great point of contact, and her contact information is on USD Entrepreneurship too. So questions about admin type issues, either one of us, but Regina's a great person to reach out to. So this is picking up in the middle of a video. This is on usdentrpreneurship.com. We have our own YouTube playlist, and this is included. I used everything that I can. Everything is videoed. So the USD Legacy Entrepreneurship Conference in the fall, in October, all those presentations, panels, speeches, and so forth are videoed, and the entire V2 pitch competition is videoed as well and available for you to take a look at.
Hello, everybody. My name is AJ Agrawal, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alumnify. And I want to start out just by asking you all a question. How many of you have ever received an email asking you for money? Right? And how many of you have ever received a cold call asking you for money? Right? So have I. So I know firsthand just how awful the experience is. It is one of the worst ways you could ever try to build a meaningful relationship with another person. Unfortunately, emails, cold calls, and snail mail are the main ways that universities are engaging their alumni today. And the results have been horrific. Alumni participation is at an all-time low 9% in this country. Imagine if this auditorium was filled with 250 USD students. When they all graduated, only 23 would actually give back. It's pretty scary. So we wanted to develop a solution that would allow universities to be able to engage their alumni in meaningful ways and help save alumni directors across the nation. We started by going through 2 months of customer discovery. We cold called 850 universities and interviewed 250 alumni. And what we found out was that universities still have not adjusted their methods of engagement specifically to the millennial generation of alumni. When you graduate in today's market, you're going to go through 7 career changes on average. So there's a good chance you're going to move away from your school. And what we discovered was that when alumni moved away from their school, they lost that sense of community that they once had because it becomes much harder to meet other alumni, and there are less alumni events to go to. So we knew we had to design our solution in a way that allowed alumni to take their university community with them wherever they went. We started by building a simple prototype that allowed our users to sign in through LinkedIn. From there, we could pull their major, graduation year, things that they were involved in on campus, and their profession. We could then use that information to pair them up with similar alumni in their area. And then once they connected, we could offer suggestions in terms of alumni events or coffee shops that they could meet face-to-face. What we kept hearing through feedback from universities and graduates was that these Facebook and LinkedIn pages for alumni weren't resulting in meaningful connections. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Now imagine if I tried to use LinkedIn to make a new connection and then ask them to grab a cup of coffee with me. First, I would have to use this advanced search feature and put in all my criteria and look through all these profiles. Then, I would have to send requests to all those people and hope that they would accept that request coming from a random person. And then finally, I would have to ask them to grab a cup of coffee with me. Some people are going to think I'm a little creepy. A lot of people are going to say no, and if I'm lucky, maybe a few say yes. But the chances of that happening are very unlikely, and most people don't want to go through that process. So with Alumnify, we totally decided to streamline it. On our platform, as soon as you sign in, you're given a stack of user profiles. You can either press a handshake or an X button, and when 2 users press that handshake button, they're brought into contact. So you know when you connect with somebody, they already want to meet you in person. They're already in your same area, and they have a similarity to you, whether it's in their profession or their education. And that makes the process much easier and a lot easier to foster those relationships. So as we're testing out this solution, it ends up in the hands of one of the largest donors at the University of South Carolina. He likes it so much, he gets us a meeting with the head of alumni relations. And we explained to him that by getting these alumni engaged early on, we could increase the chances that they would donate money. And that donation would start to serve as a benchmark, and that would increase every time. So over a lifetime, that would create a life cycle of giving. In addition, by increasing the number of donors, we could also help boost school rank. School rank is based in part by the number of donors who give, not the donation amount. So even an alumni leaving $5 helps boost school rank. After explaining this to South Carolina, they gave us a call 3 days later and asked to be added to our beta client list. The following week, we added 3 more schools. And in the span of 2 months, we went from 0 to 8 university clients. And the great thing about our platform is the fact that our clients are also our marketing partners. Each university that we team up with is required to send an email and social media blast to their entire database of alumni. So right now, our app is being reviewed. Once we launch next week in the App Store, in the first 60 days, over 700,000 alumni will be invited to our platform, and we pay nothing for that marketing. Our revenue model is straightforward. We charge universities anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 to use our platform. For the first 6 months, our universities are on a trial period. After that trial period, those annual fees will take effect. Second, we allow alumni to donate back to their schools right through Alumnify, and we take an 8% transaction from every donation. Our team is built of people who specialize in design, business, and technology. We have people who've graduated from top coding boot camps in Silicon Valley and alumni from Techstars affiliated accelerator programs. But what's brought us together is our passion to create an alumni network that can expand across the globe. We've had an amazing journey so far. We started doing 1,100 customer interviews, and that led us to get into the T-6 accelerator program. From there, we added the University of South Carolina and 7 more clients. Now we're 1 week away from launch, and in the next 60 days, over 700,000 alumni will be invited to our platform. We've been able to build our product, build early traction, and now we're ready to revolutionize this market. Thank you so much.
So a couple more mentions, and then we'll wrap it up, except for any questions or comments you all might have. One thing that I haven't talked about so far is everything that we've covered today has been extracurricular. The coaching, the fall conference for mentoring and inspiration, the V2 pitch competition. This year, the business school faculty has unanimously approved of a minor field in undergraduate entrepreneurship. So we're very proud of that. That's a big step forward. We're also in negotiation with other schools around the campus. We're in discussions with the engineering school, with nursing, with theater and music for spreading entrepreneurship around the university, and we're proud of that as well. So there's a lot going on. This is a great time to be an entrepreneur at USD. What else can I tell you about any of the programs leading up to the V2 pitch competition, the requirements, the dates, any contact information, anything else? Yeah.
Is there any access to deck, like the pitch deck coaching before the 10th?
Yeah, so there is in video format. So USDentrepreneurship.com has me giving that talk in previous years, and you're welcome to go take a look. Yeah.
If you're a hardware company and have like a working prototype for the pitch deck submit date, is there any way to potentially submit your prototype as along with the pitch deck, or should you just want to?
No, the initial submission is just your pitch deck. If you have a prototype, like something physical that you want to show on V2 pitch night, you're welcome to do that. Yeah.
Does the team member presenting need to be the USD student?
Preferred, but no, not necessarily. That's not a requirement. The two requirements are the ones I gave you. All right, entrepreneurs. Good job. Thanks for listening, and I'll look forward to seeing you at these events coming up and on V2 night.